I think in personal development, one of the most important things you can coach people on, and of course, coaching yourself on it as well. We're always coaching ourselves, right, on these things. I wrote about, in a book I wrote about 20 years ago called The 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, which sold over 1 million copies and became a bestseller and all that. And then a few years later for Johnson & Johnson, whom we trained all the salespeople nationwide, we wrote a book called Coaching the 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, and it's the coaching companion to the book. So in the second chapter, the chapter is titled World-Class Wealth Begins with World-Class Thinking. World-class wealth begins with world-class thinking. This is one of the most important things I think you can coach people on when it comes to success, because most of us are not taught, of course, as you know, about how to think like a millionaire, how to think like a self-made millionaire, how to think like someone who's financially independent. I think people get confused about it, honestly. And what I've seen in my 30-year career in personal development is people think looking rich and buying fancy cars and homes and jewelry and clothes and all those things, that's the secret, spending a lot of money. And the truth is, it's the opposite. It's thinking big in the context of being frugal enough to build your financial independence so no one can ever control you for the rest of your life. That is wealth. It's not about driving some fancy car. I'll tell you the truth, what I've seen at least, most of the people driving fancy cars and spending lots of money don't have any money because they spend it all on the stuff. And they don't. So people are still in control of their lives. And that's the last thing you want to do, because if you're not financially free, you're not really free in some ways. And I've been there and I get it, and it sucks. Because other people are in control of your life. But once you're financially free, at least they can't control that part of your life, which is a lot. Money may not make you happy, but it can solve about 95% of your problems. And so it's a great thing. So in this chapter in the book, I want to just ask you, we have shocking questions. When you coach people that are tough, you can ask them shocking questions. And when they're not so tough, you give them sensitive questions, as you can see in the book. And I'll leave the link where you can get the ebook. You can't buy the giant, it's a 600-page book. You can't get the book anymore. It's not printed anymore, but you can get an ebook for like $12 if you want to learn all these questions to ask people. There's 1,068 critical thinking questions in this book based on the mental toughness principles that I wrote for Johnson & Johnson, years ago. And it just gives it all to you. You don't have to make these questions up. They're all been tested with the biggest companies in the world, etc. So here's one of the shocking questions you can ask people if they're not already financially independent. Now, hold on to your seat, because this is a strong one, okay? You only ask this to strong people, but here it is, okay? If you're so smart, why aren't you rich? I know, it's a tough one. Back up so they don't hit you when you ask them. But it's a really good question. Okay, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich? And it's not about offending anyone. The reason these shocking questions work is because when people have big egos and they're real aggressive types, sort of type A personalities, alpha male kind of personalities, you need something sharp to cut through the ego, to cut through the self-delusion, and it works. Now, if they're not that type of person, that personality, then you ask them a sensitive question. A sensitive question would be, are you interested in becoming financially independent? And you ask them, and they answer for you, and you kind of take it down that road. But those are much easier people to coach because they don't have the ego. The ones you get paid the most to coach, or the ones that are most valuable, are these aggressive personalities with the big egos, but you got to chop through, you got to slice through that ego, and these shocking questions do it, and there's tons of them, hundreds and hundreds of them in this book. So not only is it a promotion for the book, buy this book, but ebook anyway. But I just wanted to share that with you, to ask this question for yourself and think about what it really means. If you're not financially independent, if you're so smart, why aren't you financially independent, or why aren't you rich? And of course, the truth of it is that being rich isn't about being smart, honestly. People just take it that way. So we phrase the question that way, again, to cut through the ego. But the truth is, I know tons of smart people that have no money. And I know people that are not super smart. They're not dumb, but they're not super smart. And they got more money than they know what to do with. It's really more about strategy. It's more about philosophy than it is about intelligence. And so once you get a strategy and then you go for financial independence, it's more really about that. But people sometimes think, well, rich people are just smarter than everybody else. Not true. There are very smart rich people, of course, but there are also very smart broke people. you know? But it's a good coaching question because money is not everything, but it's an important thing when you're coaching people and, of course, coaching yourself in life. Because if you have enough money to control your life, you live life on your terms, you know? And if you don't, you live on someone else's terms. You're always going to answer to someone else if you don't have enough money. That's why it's an important topic. It's an important question. It's an important subject, you know, because I've lived both ways. I've lived with no money and been in control, you know, having other people control me. And I've lived when I had more money than I know what to do with and controlled my own life. And I tell you, nothing I've ever owned, the homes, all the fancy stuff, whatever, all that stuff I've ever owned is not even close to the feeling you have that financial independence gives you, that control over your life. I don't know if you feel this way or not. That's the only thing I ever wanted out of success, honestly. I mean, it's fun buying stuff, but that wears out pretty quick. I just wanted to be in control of my life. That's when I've been the happiest. I don't know about you, how you feel about that, but it's something to think about. It's something to coach people about if you're into coaching. So have a look at this book. I'll put the link on there and you can have a look. But even if you don't get the book and use it, at least use this question with yourself and the people you coach and see what kind of answers you get. It's really interesting stuff. Thanks for watching.